Hello everybody, I'm Melissa and welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to another trope recommendation video, and this is going to be a recommendation of my favorite trope, and that is second chance romance. The last year I've really decided that I love second chance romances. They're usually got some angst and there's that tension. Of course, some second chance romances don't always work because you're like, well, why did you break up in the first place? But some of them you're like, oh my god, the fixing, the ability, the changing of the things that happened, and it's just beautiful. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get right on into it. The first one, if you're new here, hi, but this is my favorite book of all time. I absolutely adore this. This is Ghosted by JM Darhower. This is Kennedy and Jonathan, and Jonathan and Kennedy met when they were in high school. This is told on two timelines, so the past timeline and the present timeline, and they met when they were in high school, and they were high school sweethearts. And I mean, look at this, just amazing, so much. And she ran away with Jonathan, because he had a horrible home life, and she ran away with him. And she did everything she could because he wanted to be a star. He wanted to be a movie star, famous actor. And so she ran away to LA with him, and they go to LA, and he gets into the drug and alcohol scene a lot. It's quite bad. And one day she realizes that she's pregnant and is like, I'm out. And because he says something horrible to her, absolutely, when we got to that part in the book, I wanted to throw my book across the room. I was so mad at him for what he said to her. And she's like, bye. And so in the past timeline, you get up to when she left. And a little bit after. And then in the present timeline, it's her navigating being a single mother, and he comes back into her and her daughter's life and is clean now and there to stay, and it is just absolutely adorable. His relationship with Maddie is the cutest thing ever. So he plays a famous he plays a superhero, and Maddie is obsessed with his character Brizio, and she sees him and is like, Esprizio, and it's just so adorable. And I loved the in the past, in the two timelines, it's when we're in the present, when we're in the present, things are really terrible at first, and then they start to get better. And then in the past, things are great, and then they start to crumble, and you're told as things are getting better in the past. It's beautiful. I love it so much. I could talk about this book forever. Yeah, if you haven't read it, go read it. It's amazing. The audiobook is fantastic. It's Jordan. Are we surprised? But I just adore this book so much. Then next is a new favorite book that I recently read, and that is After the Storm by Laura Pavlov. And this is Presley and Cage. And Cage is this is the fifth book in the Cottonwood Cove series. And we know that Cage is a single dad, and we learned in the first book about a girl named Presley. We don't hear about her at all the rest of the time. We don't hear about her again until the epilogue of Before the Sunset, which is the book before After the Storm. We don't hear about her again until then. And we kind of know that there's some history with, there's some bad blood with Grace's mom. And she has nothing to do with Grace and with Cage. And so I kind of thought going in that Presley maybe was her mom, and but I was wrong. But it was beautiful the way that it was angsty, and there was tension, and it was beautiful and romantic, and I cried. I loved it so much. Definitely one that everyone should go pick up. And if you love second chance, it is perfection. Absolutely. Then I have Only You by Samantha Young. This is more of a second chance without ever really having a first chance. So Monroe and Broden were best friends growing up. Absolute best friends. And Broden went off to, I don't remember if he went off to college or if he went off to become an actor. But he is an actor. And Monroe kind of stayed in their hometown. And when they were younger, she was upset about something, and she slept with one of the Adair brothers. I can't remember which one. And Broden caught them and was really upset about it, and said some horrible things, and so they don't talk anymore. And now she's back in town, and he's back in town, and it was just absolutely adorable. I loved it. It's the fifth book in the Adair family series. You don't have to read them in order. You can. I did. I enjoyed them. I actually read Beyond the Thistles first, and then I went back and read this one, and it was just chef's kiss. Perfection. I loved it so much. Next up, we have Letters to Molly by Devney Perry. This is a divorced couple getting a second chance. I know a lot of people talk about Before I Let Go. I love that book also. That would be an honorable mention. But this one is Molly and Finn, and they were together. They had 2 kids. They got divorced because they just couldn't, there was some stuff that happened and they just couldn't make it work. And one day Molly gets a letter in the mail, and it's like from the beginning of like their relationship and from her and Finn's relationship, and it was just absolutely beautiful. I loved it so much. I loved it. Yeah. Next, we have a paranormal fantasy romance, and that is Resting Witch Face by Juliette Cross. There's a couple I could have gone with this, but this one is probably one of my favorite books I ever read. I loved it. It was Ruben and Jules. It was like the highly anticipated book of the series, because you knew that Ruben and Jules didn't really get along, but they like have to be together. They like have to work together because of the council in New Orleans that they were both a part of, like the Supernatural Council, and it was just I loved it so much. It was beautiful. And so, but Ruben is a vampire and Jules is a witch. They are fated to be together. There is some stuff that happens that like, I loved it. They have to spend time together traveling. There's only one bed. It's amazing. Yes, highly suggest it. Next up, we have Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. This is another one that is told in dual timeline, like Ghosted. And so in the present timeline, we get Alma's perspective. And she is a successful wedding planner. And in the past timeline, we get Elliot's perspective, and he is a florist. And they've avoided working together since their relationship crumbled. And now they're working on a very high-profile influencer's wedding. And the influencer wants to use him as a florist, wants to use her as the wedding planner. So they have to work together, and they realize that their feelings might still be there. And it is beautiful. She like realizes that she hasn't been as creative since they broke up. He has like done so much with his business, and she's like, oh my gosh, but his creativity comes out more when they're together. They work perfectly together. Loved it so much. This was a debut. Fantastic. Then we have a book that I feel like doesn't get talked about a lot. I know Claire Kingsley's like next series after this, the Bailey Brothers, and then obviously her new series gets talked about all the time. But I read Broken Miles this year, and this is a second chance romance, a divorced couple. They were like high school sweethearts. They got married, and then she wanted to go back to their small town, and he wanted to be successful in San Francisco and have all sorts of money. And then something happens with their family's winery, and he has to like come home to like kind of save it. And she's working there. Zoe is working there. Roland is the hero's name, and Zoe is the heroine. And Zoe's working for the family because she still kind of stayed close with them. And it's just, of course, things are going to happen between the two of them. Feelings are going to come back out. And yeah, it was beautiful. I loved it. Next up, we have The Words by A Jade. This is one where the first chance and the second chance happen in the same book. So we get to see the start of their relationship, the end of their relationship, and then the start of their relationship again together, all in one book. This is Phoenix and Lennon, and Phoenix and Lennon are in high school together at the beginning of this book. And Lennon is curvy and made fun of, and Phoenix needs help to pass class, and so he gets Lennon to help him, and she puts him in his place. Like, she's like not afraid to like let him know how things are going to be. And then he does something pretty awful, and she like cannot forgive him, and it's like never, and then they like don't talk again. Now it's like a couple years later. I don't remember how many years. I think it says, but I don't know if I could find it without taking forever. And Phoenix has had all sorts of issues. He's in a famous band, and he has had issues with being like, he has alcohol and drug issues, and he needs basically like a babysitter to be with him on tour. And he's gone through like multiple, he just keeps sleeping with them, or he can convince them to let him do things, drink, do drugs, party, all the things. And his best friend is his bandmate, And he says, I know someone that would put him in this place and will make sure he stays on the straight and narrow. And so his manager goes and finds Lennon and is like, hey, I'm going to give you this much money. And she really needs the money because some stuff happened with her dad. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And of course, feelings are going to come out between the two of them again. And it was just beautiful. I really, like, I feel like I want to reread it. It's so long. It's almost 700 pages. But it is worth it. It is worth those 700 pages, for sure. I loved it so much. Next up, we have Blockshot by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in the Hoop series. Could totally be read as a standalone. I know a lot of people skip the first one because it is really, really heavy. And you do meet Jared in the first book, but because he's August's agent. But that's all you really get. And then this one is Banner and Jared. And Banner and Jared had this is kind of like a second chance without ever really having a first chance type of thing too. And they went to college together, and he was like trying to join the secret society, and he was told, you have to bang the fat chick. And they met Banner, and because him and Banner were really good friends, and he was like, no, like he was like, I'm out. I'm not joining this stupid, like, this is not worth it. Banner is a good person. She's my best friend. I love her. And then he does end up sleeping with her, and they it comes like the secret society say something about him sleeping with her and like being part of the bet and whatever, and she freaks out and gets really upset and is like, cuts off all contact with him, wants nothing to do with him. Of course, made sense. And now it's like years later, they're both successful sports agents and competing sports agents, and he wants her to come work for his company that he has with August. And of course, things are going to happen. There is cheating in this, do know that, but there's some moments where it's okay in fiction, and this is one book where it totally is okay. But if you don't like cheating, like if you're not okay with it at all, even in books, then probably not the book for you. But if you don't mind, and if you're like soulmate level, meant to be together, makes sense, then this one is for you. And it was phenomenal. Kennedy Ryan just is a great writer overall, and the way that she can write an emotional romance and still make me believe in the romance, just absolutely perfection. She writes, and Second Chance is something that she does phenomenally. Grip is a second chance romance. Before I Let Go, Blockshot, like the Kingmaker, all of those are like second chance romances. And yeah, that's like her niche. She does it great. Then the last one that I have to recommend is, I mean, there's 100 more I could recommend, but the last one for this video is going to be King of the Court by R.S. Gray. This is another one where you get both the first chance and the second chance in the same book. And this is Ben and Raylan. And Ben is a professional basketball player. And he goes to like work out with Team USA at some small town in Texas. And there he meets Raylan. And things happen between them, and then his ex-girlfriend shows up, and it kind of forces them apart. And this one is one where like it wasn't a huge time jump, it was only like a year, and now they're both in LA. He's a single father, and she is working to get her master's, or maybe it's just her bachelor's, but she's working really hard to get her degree. And of course they're gonna run into each other, and things are gonna happen between them again. And it is beautiful, amazing. I read this book like in January, and I still think about it all of the time. So yes, those are the 10 books that I think that you should read that are second chance. I probably have 20 more I could recommend. So I might end up doing a part 2 of this, but I'm not for a while. But yeah, those are my favorite second chance romances. Now I have some that are on my TBR that I need to get to soon. First up, we have King of Greed. I don't know that it's necessarily second chance so much as it is marriage in trouble, but I do know she leaves him. So yeah, I have heard absolutely nothing but fantastic things about this. Some people say he needs to gravel more. I'm okay if it's, but like I know there's like a My Wife scene. Where's My Wife scene? And I'm so excited for this, and I need to read it before the end of the year. But yeah, King of Greed is the first one. Then I also have The Day of the Duchess. This is another one that I believe is more marriage in trouble where like she decides she wants to be with her husband, where he kind of like just left her. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong, but I do want to read this. I want to get back more into historicals. I love historicals and I just need to read more of them. So this one is on there. And then the last one is The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. I have not read this one yet. And then it's like The Kingmaker and All the King's Men duet, The Kingmaker, and I don't remember the second book, but The Rebel King, I think is what it's called. But I need to read that because I have heard nothing but good things. Like I said, Kennedy Ryan writes a great second chance romance. And so that is definitely on my TBR. But if you made it to the end of this video, leave me a broken heart emoji because, you know, their hearts are broken at one point in the romance. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. It really helps me out. And I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye.